everyone. Welcome to our What's New in ShareFile webinar. We're going to walk through some of the most impactful new features that's now available in ShareFile that's happened over the past 3 months to give you a little recap. But my name is Stacey Schrader. I'm the lead product marketing manager here at ShareFile, and I'll also be joined here today with 2 other product marketing managers, Chad Liu and Suraj Kumar. We do have an accompanying blog to this webinar if you did miss it. That's a perfect takeaway guide when trying out these features for the first time or just sort of investigating some of them as well. We'll be sure to link that in the chat for you all if you haven't seen it. But if you come to our webinars pretty often, this one will look a little bit different from our typical how-to webinars. We do have so many feature updates that we're going to go over, so we'll be summarizing some of those big enhancements and then walk through some of the problems they solve and what value they can have for your organization, while giving some key components on each with some screenshots that you can take away with you as well. So we have been quite busy these last 3 months delivering more value inside of ShareFile to help you simplify your document workflows, increase your efficiency on those repetitive workflows, and then improve data security measures to stay proactive on potential threats as well. To give you a quick little roadmap on today's call, we'll be going through all of these features that you see here listed. And all of these also have the plan types attached to them as well. So if you see something that you're interested in and just want to listen in and pause us while we go along and just listen to that one feature, we did want to give you that opportunity to see it. So when you see these little black tags, they'll be on every single feature slide as well as a reminder. But anytime you see that plus it'll mean and above. So for example, with automated threat remediation, you see advanced and above. So that's what that'll mean for you. Just wanted to decode that a little bit. And then we have quite a few features to go through. So we'll be managing questions through the Q&A function. So if you have any feedback or question, you can put that there. And then we also have behind the scenes numerous product and engineers on the call to help us answer all of the questions and get your feedback to make sure you're really taking advantage of the opportunity with our team as well. Before we jump into the content, we did want to take a moment to do a poll to understand exactly who we're talking to today. So let us know how long you've been using ShareFile to get your work done. Our product and technology organization has been really committed over the past couple of years to reaching out to our customers to understand and get more feedback on what you like about ShareFile, what you wish it did, where we can make strides for your organization. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen those reach out communications from us, really trying to iterate on where you need to get work done faster, easier, and more secure. So it looks like we've slowed down with the poll. If we want to share the results, I'm sure others probably want to see that as well. But it looks like the majority of us joining today have been customers from 2 to 5 years, which is great to see you guys. And then we have some newer customers as well from 1 to 2 years. So you've been on this innovative journey that we've been on for the past few years. And then we have some long-term too, 5 to 7 and 7+. So we've been around nearly 20 years now. So I think that is great to have you guys join us and see some of the new stuff that we've been adding. All right. We'll exit out of that poll and move into our first feature, which will be Chad's feature.
Great, thanks, Stacy. So most of you, if not all of you, have seen a new login page when you come into ShareFile now. And this is really all about customer experience. And Stacy, if you go on the next slide, there were really 3 main areas that we're focused on. It's performance when you log in, the accessibility used to be like a split screen with multiple fields. So it was a little difficult if you had accessibility issues, and then more flexible security options. So you can see we now are going to be supporting more single sign-on and identity providers. So, and then a bonus on top of this, we simplified the administration experience. So it's much easier now to set up and configure these SSO and identity access providers. So you can see it's now a nice clean look. You got your email address and you continue. And I threw a few screens in here to show how you can actually customize this as well. So Stacy, if you move on to the next slide here. So here's kind of the new look. I created a fictional manufacturing company called Loki Industries, but you can see the once you put in your email and click continue, if you have single sign-on set up, that will launch. But you can set some nice little branding options with an image and your logo. And here's how you do that. You just go into your settings, administrative settings, and then there's a company account info tab there where you can edit your company branding. On the first step, you can see it's just the page title and your login. I have a nice little logo and my brand colors there for my Loki Industries. But to update the login page, so the whole site, the login, inside the page all has your branding. You can click on the advanced appearance options there. And that gives you, if you go to the next slide, that will show these additional login page options. So again, I just uploaded a little logo, a background image, and set the colors. Right there, you can see the login page options. So really simplified this whole thing. Number one, again, performance, accessibility, experience, but then giving the flexible new SSO options. You'll actually see more and more identity providers supported, because we now have all the latest, greatest integrated into ShareFile there. And speaking of security, I'm going to hand it over now to Suraj, who's going to talk a little around the automated threat remediation.
Thank you, Chad. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome again. So in terms of security, the team has been pretty busy working on a lot of innovative things. And one of the things that we've recently launched is something where the system proactively takes a risk mitigation measure. Just move on. So this feature essentially leverages machine learning algorithms and models to detect anomalous behavior or anomalous usage patterns that can signal potential security risks. Right now, security risks could be in terms of possibly an impossible travel, which essentially means access to the portal from IPs that belong to different countries within an unrealistic time frame, right? So if somebody is logged in, let's say from New York, at a certain point, and then within the next half an hour from say London, that's an impossible travel scenario, right? So that kind of flags an anomalous usage pattern. Similarly, when there's a certain spike in terms of the number of downloads that's happening from a particular user's account, it could signal that the user account has been compromised. And so it triggers an alert. And also in terms of access from multiple different IPs, right? So now this is something that we study over a period of time. So, typically people might log in from home, people might log in from office, maybe from a cafe, if they are out for meetings frequently enough. But if this, regular trend of usage from 3 different locations or 4 or 5 different locations that is common suddenly, jumps into say, login from 20 different IPs or 20 or more, and that kind of signals an alert, right? So what the system does is it takes that automated protective measure of expiring the password for that user and sends a notification to the users to reset the password, right? This is done to protect your account, to safeguard your data. So it comes with that enhanced security. But as we can move on, but if this is something that's possibly say business as usual, especially if high download spike because you're trying to back up some of your data on say a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, that data spike or the download count spike could be something that's normal. You always have control to switch it off, right? So we give you that additional control to decide what you think is right for business and what you think is something that's out of the ordinary that needs to be looked into. So that's about what we've built in terms of security. There's a whole lot more coming as we go along. I'll quickly switch this over to Stacy to talk about one of our latest solutions.
Yeah, thanks, Suraj. So if you've been paying attention or not, especially in the accounting and the legal space, we've been creating what we call at ShareFile solutions. Basically, these are packaged workflows that are ready to use that handle a certain use case. Accounting, we released our first one in May, and then in August, we released our first legal solution. And this one was really about client intake and engagement. It's really managing that end-to-end journey with a client and then also the onboarding process that goes along with bringing clients on board for a matter. I do want to say, if you're not in those two industries, we are expanding in more horizontal use cases and more industry-specific use cases coming very soon that you'll see some announcements around. So just understanding what the solutions can do will be helpful when we do have those newer solutions coming down the pipeline later this year. Specifically for the legal client intake and engagement solution, this really handles, again, that client onboarding process, that end-to-end process of onboarding with that client. So speaking directly and getting them to sign agreements, and then also filling out an intake form, and then managing that day-to-day with them. So whether that's communication or getting them to submit certain files, whether that be specific personal information securely, or that's court documents you need them to sign. All of that can be facilitated inside of this containerized solution. And the problem we really solved here, and we're looking with our customers to try to solve, was the digitization of those workflows. So we see that a lot of law firms are still doing these things really manually, or if they're not, they're doing it very inefficiently. That really slows down the productivity of their staff and sort of hinders that interaction with that client. So a lot of the day-to-day was chasing down emails, chasing down text messages, just to get some simple information and keep that service moving. So the value around this solution is really streamlining that end-to-end process with that client and organizing it along the way. So if you have staff that's collaborating with you on a certain matter with a client, they'll have that visibility and that direct knowledge to know where to go to look for certain things. So it's ready to use. You don't really need to create any kind of resource or project or even train your client. Everything is very direct in their face on how they would work with you inside of this space. And also digitizes, we talked about that, the whole process, and simplifies that communication. So even if your client has a question on a certain agreement that you sent them to sign, or they're confused on what documents they need to submit to you, they can ask inside of that single place as well. So it keeps everything together in one. And then it unifies all of that in one place too. So you don't have to go searching through emails or other tools for client-related work. So for example, if you had an agreement that ties to that client and in that specific matter, that agreement would be housed inside of that space as well. So to show you sort of what this looks like if you haven't seen it before, you can see that it adds a new left nav tab once you install the solution from the catalog. The catalog is going to be in your top right corner here. Not only are our solutions housed there, but also templates and integrations as well. So if you haven't explored that, I encourage you to check that out. But once you install the solution, this is sort of what it looks like. To create a new matter, you would click that button, and we'll show you on the next slide what that looks like. But this is an example of having 4 client matters added to the space, so you can see exactly and navigate to the specific client when you need to work with them. This sort of shows you the built-in client onboarding with the solution as well. So once you click Create Matter, you'll be able to add that client, whether they're an existing client inside of ShareFile, or you can add them new with that Add a New Client button. And then once that kicks off, it creates a space specifically for that client where you'll be engaging with them. So all of this stuff is pre-made, so you don't have to build specific items for it. This specific example, it was built for a divorce use case. However, all of this will be customizable. So if you are doing a different type of law, you would also be able to customize this to fit your needs and certain things that maybe your law firm always requests as well. So you can see some information requests we have there. So those are basically your intake forms, your digital forms, all put into ShareFile. And then you have your document request list as well. All of those have been created once you hit that Create Matter button, and you don't have to take the time to do that manually either. And all of this keeps into this one specific client matter space. Again, really helping with organization and not having to go hunt for documents If you send an agreement out of here with our e-signature tool, it'll stay in this containerized space as well. So if you have multiple staff members that are working on this client, they will to go to this space and find that agreement very easily. But yeah, if you have any questions about the solution, we can answer them in the Q&A. But we will move on to the next one, which is the document list generation. If you haven't checked this one out, it's very cool. We're bringing some really impactful AI features inside of ShareFile. This is our second one, which handles a lot of the document list generation use cases inside of ShareFile. So if you haven't used our document request list, this is sort of an assistant to that. Document request lists live inside of our projects functionality, and then also inside of our solutions as well. And this feature really helps leverage Gen AI to generate those lists in seconds to help accelerate the document collection process. So you can see here on the left with the screenshot of what that generation sort of looks like. But if you have a specific requirement where you're collecting maybe more than 3 or 4 documents, you're able to handle this with our document list collection tool inside of ShareFile now. And with that tool, we've added that AI capability that it's basically a short prompt where you enter any information that you need for that list. So let's say this example right here is estate planning, asking it to deliver some documents for a single no children adult based in Virginia to manage their estate after death. Very specific with that prompt, but the more specific you are, the better the AI will return back what you're looking for. You'll also have the ability to set a due date if you want to for that list, and that's just a due date of when you'd be requesting those documents from that client or that user. And then it'll also ask you what industry you work in and your role in that industry. That's just to help train it to be very specific on what it's going to deliver back. So it's not required to fill that out, but will help with your returned answers from the Gen AI. Once you click generate with AI, this list will come up, whatever list you're looking for here. And then you can choose one, a few, or all of the items it generated for you. So maybe if you only like personal identification documents or asset ownership documents, you may only be able to select only 2 of those and then just hit generate list. Or maybe everything in this example looks correct and that's all the things I need to request from this client. So I'll just go ahead and click yes, and then it puts it into the document request list. So all of this is in draft. It hasn't been sent to anyone yet. So if you need to make any revisions, maybe to some of the descriptions that it generated for you, you wanted to alter those a little bit, you'd be able to do that here. And then maybe if a due date, you want one of the documents delivered to you faster than the others, you'd be able to change the individual due date on this as well before you send to the client. So everything is very customizable, but really helping you save time on creating list documents, especially when you're requesting up to hundreds of documents at a time. That really leverages some of the Gen AI that's inside of ShareFile now. Activity reports for projects and solutions. So this is a newer feature that is also in projects and solutions that will really help support compliance and data security needs, especially with industries that need some of that auditing, compliance, and tracking when it comes to client activity. This is available in premium and above as well, but this one will help generate activity reports specifically that happened inside of that containerized space for projects or solutions over the last 90 days. So everything that happens inside of that project space, whether that be uploading documents, viewing documents, downloading documents, commenting, anything like that, where it's going to happen, where an activity has been happened, it will track it and put it inside of an activity report for you. So really the benefit here is you'll be able to support some of those compliance needs where you need to have the auditing compliance to seeing who did this and when they did it, or if they ever did it, especially if you want to prove if someone actually viewed a document or not. You'll have that ability now. But you would go into a project or a solution and hit that little hamburger menu, and it'll drop down into Create Activity Report. And then once you click that activity report, this is sort of what the output looks like. I know it can be overwhelming, but it has all the data that happened inside of that specific project that we're showing. But it's exported as a CSV for easy transfer, because a lot of the times you're needing to transfer that information into another in another place. So you'll have that ability, but it gives you all the logistic information of when it happened with a timestamp, where it happened, who did it, and then what that specific thing they did. So you can see here, I know the text is really small, but request list created, it's showing that I created that. And then a client uploading a document and viewing a document, making sure it's tracking all of those things. So this is something that we're really excited to deliver to all of our customers, especially since we have so many that sit in that really high security industry space that needs this kind of tracking. And then we're also going to talk about, I know we talked about this last time, but we've been making improvements to it if you joined us for our last webinar. But this one is on Secure Share Recommender. So if you have some staff that you probably do that love to share things willy-nilly and don't love to always pay attention to how they're sharing something, this is a great feature to install and have your staff to start looking at and using. But this helps enhance your security measures by guiding that secure sharing behavior, by taking those automated actions to protect some of that data that you're sharing. This is available in premium and above plans, but you can see on this screenshot of an active recommendation that it's sending. So if you have a file that you're sending, whether it's by email or by the hyperlink function, if you're sending links out, and you select a less secure share setting, so like making it an anonymous link that anyone can open, this will automatically scan the file and search for any sensitive PII information. And then it'll come back and say, hey, this may contain some sensitive information. You might want to consider securing this, this file a little bit more with the share settings. And it'll give you that recommended option of what you should be sharing it for. And you can either click apply recommended options or ignore it if you disagree with it. Or you can change it yourself as well, but giving you those options and guiding your staff to sharing more securely is something that we're trying to do here, especially when you're dealing with some HIPAA information and GDPR information where you need to make sure that if your staff is sending something that they're considering all of those protocols with it. So this is just showing you how to do it if you haven't seen it already. So anytime you share a file, it's for single files right now. We're expanding to multiple files soon. But if you share a file by hyperlink or email, this will apply the automatic information if it's not in a more secure share setting. So if you have someone that has an anonymous link and then anyone can download it, it's going to automatically scan for you and come back with that information. Another cool thing that it does is it tells you exactly what kind of data is found. So some information like a URL or a social security number that it thinks it found that you might want to consider locking down that file so you know exactly what it's referring to. And this is just showing what that feature looks like inside of sending for email as well. So it'll apply very similar things to that file when you're sending a file via email as well. Alrighty, so we're going to move into document templates. If you've been a customer for a little bit, you know that we've been making strides in fully integrating our e-signature functionality inside of ShareFile. And we've been not only doing that, but we've been focusing on our document creation and generation capabilities inside of ShareFile as well. So this goes hand in hand with that, with our document templates. So if you haven't used a document template yet, these are really extremely valuable, especially when you're sending a lot of similar or the same documents for signature or form completion every single time. This is going to help you save a lot of time on creating that document. And then instead of taking 5 to 10 minutes to do it every single time, it'll help you do it in seconds. So we'll walk through what this is, and then it's also available premium and above. Similar, it goes hand in hand with our e-signature functionality. So our e-signature is also premium and above. But what these really are, if you haven't used them before, are ready-to-use blueprints that can be used repeatedly for different types of documents. So if you always have the same NDA and you only need to fill and customize information, very little on it, you'll be able to make that as a perfect use case as a document template. So really the benefit here is that you're creating reoccurring agreements and sending so much faster and with no hassles for signature or just sending a form for completion. And then accelerating some of the document drafting by sending repetitive documents to users with just a couple of clicks. And then also we have this ability inside of our document templates that helps autofill that information that you already have on that user or that client. So that can minimize any manual data entry issues with inaccuracy and help streamline the process as well. So we currently pull in data from ShareFile, so client or employee users, information we already have on them, and Salesforce as well. I'm going to show you what that looks like exactly. But creating a template, after you create a template, you have the option to share it as well. So not only does this help for personal use, but if you have an organization that all uses the same document, so maybe an engagement letter or an NDA, that's spread pretty wide around your organization, you'll be able to set up that document template for your organization and then share it out to them. So they all be using that same document template, really helping the standardization of that process. And to navigate to the templates, it's going to be in your left nav if you haven't seen it already. It's called templates, and you'll be able to create a document template from there. And then this is sort of showcasing that autofill that I was talking about. So when you're creating a document template, you have the option to add variable fields. And with those, you're able to designate, maybe you already have that client information, like their first name, their last name, their address, their email. You'll be able to notate, autofill this information when I'm sending it for signature. So when you're notating who you're sending it to, it'll autofill automatically for that client. So they don't need to put in their name. They just need to, sign the date, sign their name, fill in any other information, and not have to worry about filling in the information you already have on them. This is really helpful with speeding up with accuracy as well. And then we also have this capability with Salesforce as well. So generating any information that may live inside of there from a lead or a quote. All of that is available inside of the premium and above plan. And also the integration with Salesforce can be located inside of the catalog as well. We will now move into document request list templates with Chad.
Great. And to just piggyback on the templates, this is really rounding out all of our different templates that you can create across projects, information requests, document requests, and now document request list templates. And this is really just if you have any standard processes, if you have any standard documents, you can just create a template, and then you can use that template over and over again to reduce any kind of manual errors and save yourself lots of time creating these and setting them up as well. You can move on to the next slide there. And so, yeah, the document request list template. So whether you create your own document request or you use the AI to generate, a document request for specific features, you can just now save that as a template. So now you have, whatever you have configured and customized for your specific documents that you're requesting, or even the names of it. You just save as a template, and you can see there's actually multiple places you can save it. So right from the document request list area there, or if you move to the next slide, as you're creating each of these individual document requests within the list, again, this is where you can edit and change and add to, but you can also save this whole thing as a template. So then you could use it for any of your projects there. And then also within projects, we've added some additional capabilities within the information requests. I like to call them dynamic forms. And this feature allows you to hide different fields that are irrelevant to your client. So if you go to the next slide here, the most common example or easy to understand is if you're collecting data around one of your clients for tax reasons and you want to know if they're single or married. So if they're single, there's a certain amount of information that you're going to request. If they're married, you also are going to need to collect information around their spouse. And some of these forms can be very, very lengthy. I mean, you may have dozens and dozens of fields that you want to collect on spouse or other information if you have additional property and things like that. So instead of giving your client, a form with 200 fields, it can just personalize that, hide all the irrelevant fields, and get a very simple form for your customers so it doesn't overwhelm them. So prevents them stress and also makes it very easy. And within the form builder here, all you have to do is create a new section within the form. Again, you can have multiple fields, dozens of fields there if you want. And then there's conditional logic when you select that section. It says, hey, show this section if the following question, which is marital status, is equal to married. And that's how you can show and hide those conditions and different sections within the forms. And then one last one we have around file attachments within data tables. So within projects, you can actually create customized data tables. And what this allows you to do by adding a column that allows file attachments is you can create a whole bunch of metadata and build context around files used within a project. And I'll show you how that works here. So you can see I have a table. Actually, go ahead to go to one more slide here, which is a little easier to read here. So again, with my fictitious manufacturing company here, I have different things for product design and then the manufacturing. And so we're going to bring in either the product requirements and engineering drawings, and then sometimes we may have we may generate different documents as well. But you can see each step of the process. You can attach those files in there. You can change the status of it. You can assign to multiple people. Again, this is just a custom table I created within my project, and there's a little plus button there. You can create multiple tables for all sorts of different things, but instead of just having to rely on a folder name or a file name to figure out which files are which or what they're used for, this allows you to create more of an integrated workflow, which has all the contextual information for each of the files there. And the files will still show up on the Files tab and the other places, but this is a nice way to organize it here.